The first time I heard the voices, I thought I was losing my mind. I stood in the sterile chill of a hospital hallway, the fluorescent lights flickering like warning signals overhead. A patient had been discharged just hours before, his mumbling echoing in the empty space. "They're in the walls," he had said, his eyes wide with terror. My colleagues laughed, dismissing him as delusional. But I felt something twist inside me, a deep need to understand. When I tried to present my findings, my voice trembled as I spoke of inaudible frequencies, hidden sounds that could be the key to understanding the human psyche and the paranormal. My family had been there, their faces painted with disdain. "You're wasting your life," my mother had scolded. "You'll disgrace us." My father's silence was worse. His disappointment loomed like a specter. I left that day a broken shell, but my obsession grew. I buried myself in abandoned hospitals, mapping cursed territories, hunting for echoes of the past. Years passed. I became a ghost myself, wandering through decaying structures, recording what should not be heard. My equipment became my lifeline. Each click of the recorder was a heartbeat in the silence. The scorn of my family transformed into a bitter fuel. I wanted them to see, to believe, and when the recordings began to echo with voices from beyond, it felt like vindication. "I told you so," I whispered to the shadows, my heart racing. It was an abandoned asylum that broke me. I was deep in the heart of its darkened corridors, the air thick with despair. I had set up my equipment, eager to capture the whiskers that had haunted my dreams. The voices were there, swirling around me like a fog. "Help us," they cried. "Find the truth." I recorded them, each chilling plea embedding itself into my consciousness. I was no longer just an outsider. I was a vessel for their torment. The night I returned home, now a renowned expert in paranormal acoustics, my name whispered among those who dared to investigate the unseen. I felt a coil of dread tightening around my heart. My family had changed. They were no longer quick to ridicule me. Instead, they wore the masks of polite curiosity. I could see in their eyes a flicker of fear, the knowledge that the world had shifted. They had heard the stories of my discoveries, the horrors unearthed, but it was too late to turn back. "Welcome back," my mother said, her voice a fragile thread. I could see the tremor in her hands as she gestured for me to sit. I complied, but the air felt thick with unspoken words. "We've heard about your work," my father added, his voice gruff but laced with unease. "It's impressive. Terrifying." I smiled, but it felt hollow. "You don't know the half of it," I replied, my voice heavier than I intended. I wanted them to understand, but knew they were too far gone in their disbelief. I decided to show them. That evening, I set up my equipment in the living room, a space I once filled with laughter and warmth. Now it felt like a mausoleum. "You have to see this," I insisted. My family gathered, their skepticism clinging to them like a shroud. I pressed record and let the silence envelop us. And then the whispers began. They slithered from the speakers, chilling and ethereal. "Help us," they pleaded, a chorus of souls trapped between worlds. My family's faces turned pale as the voices filled the room, echoing off the walls. "You have to listen," I urged, my heart racing as the temperature dropped. But then something shifted. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to pulse, thickening like smoke. I could feel the unseen pressing closer, a dark energy swirling around us. My family's eyes widened in horror as they began to hear, not just the recordings, but the very essence of what I had faced. They could sense the anger, the despair, and the desperation of the voices I had come to know. "Why are they here?" my mother gasped, her voice cracking. "What have you done?" In that moment, I saw the realization wash over them. The years of ridicule, the denials, the scorn. They had refused to believe, and now they were witnessing the manifestation of their disbelief, the proof of horrors I had survived. The shadows coalesced, forming dark figures that writhed in the corners of the room. I felt a cold dread wash over me, but I stood firm. "This is what I've been trying to tell you," I whispered. "This is the truth." The shadows lunged, reaching for my family, their voices rising in a cacophony of sorrow and rage. "You abandoned us," they cried. "You turned away." I could feel my heart pounding as I reached for the recorder, desperate to capture this moment, this reckoning. My family screamed, their voices drowned out by the cries of the lost. I had become the bridge between worlds, the truth they had denied now clawing at their very souls. When the chaos subsided, I was left standing alone, the equipment silent. My family lay crumpled on the floor, their faces pale as they stared into the void where the shadows had been. They had seen it, felt it, the weight of their disbelief manifesting into a nightmare they could not escape. "Now you know," I said softly, the echoes of the past still buzzing in my ears. As I looked down at them, I felt a strange sense of peace wash over me. The vindication I craved had come, but at a terrible price. I was no longer the disgrace. I was a warning. As I stepped out into the night, the darkness felt different. It was no longer just a void, but a realm filled with whispers waiting to be heard. I had survived, and now I walked among the shadows, a keeper of secrets that the world had refused to acknowledge. My family would never forget the cost of their disbelief. I turned away, knowing that some truths are meant to be buried, but I was no longer afraid. I was the echo of their nightmares, a living testament to the horrors that lie just beyond the veil of understanding.